What is going on, guys? Rogue TCG. This is going to be my Chaos Combo deck profile. I'm named a Chaos Combo because there isn't much of another name. It's kind of a mishmash of a million different archetypes that's meant to confuse my opponents. However, all of it functions very well together. There are very few brick hands that this deck can produce because all the cards do something to progress the game plan somewhat forward. This deck has got me fairly well in the Duelist Cup and in other events, and it is pretty good as an anti-meta pick because it does kind of hard counter Mathmech in the terms of Colossus, but that's enough yapping. Time for me to go over the deck profile. At first, we got double Thunder Dragon Matrix. It's a good normal summon because you can make Colossus with it. It's a hand trap to trigger Titan, and it is an advantage engine in the terms of where when it's summoned, you can send it for Colossus and then get a search, or you can banish it to get a search if you mill it. Then we have our Soft Garnet Unizombie. But if we do open it, we can do some stuff with it, such as discard bricks from our hand that we want engrave, or we can try to assemble our Chaos Ruler off of the Unizombie, depending on what's hand, but it is kind of hand determinative. We do have our one hand trap. We have one Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. It is one of the best hand traps in the game because it stops Max C. It is a zombie as well, so we can bring it back with Mizuki, and it's a tuner. We have our danger package of double Jackalope, double Tsuchinoko, double Nessie, and one Thunderbird. All of these will have some sort of beneficial effect in grave that will either be a detriment to our opponent or advance our game plan, as in putting bodies on the board, or as in searching cards from deck to hand. They're all very good because they also do discard cards that we don't want out of our hands, such as our Malicious, our Darks, our Roars. We have a small Tearlament package and one Havness, two Shieren, and our Primeval Planet Perliana. Havness is a very good hand trap, and the fact that it is a body on board, it is a dark, it is a level 3, so if we do perhaps get a level 5 body on board, we can make a Chaos Ruler if the 5 is going to be a Unizombie, because we can increase it up to that level. We are also going to have our one Mizuki to be sending off of Unizombie. It is an incredible extender in grave because you can bring back Unizombie, bring back Ash, bring back Solitaire. Large amount of flexibility in this one slot, except for the fact that it isn't a dark or a light. However, we can look over that fact because it is a one-of in that deck. We do have our one Armageddon Knight and our one Dark Grepher to send our Thunder Dragons to our graveyard. You can also send other stuff, such as our Shieren and our Havness if necessary. However, most of the time they are going to be sending our Thunder Dragons. We have our baby Chaos Dragons, White Dragon Wyverburster and Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. They are an incredible advantage engine, as in putting a body on board, maintaining hand advantage, putting pressure on opponents if we're going second, as in numbers just on the board to take away their life points. And they are combo starters if we do have a Thunder Dragon in grave, because they can start getting us off to the races. We have our Shiranui Solitaire. This is to get our Unizombie, and this is the backbone of the entire deck. If we get our Unizombie, we can make a Chaos Ruler by sending our Mizuki, bringing back the Solitaire with the Mizuki, and then making Chaos Ruler in order to dig way deeper into our deck to find things we want to put in grave and things we want to put in our hand. We have one of the best cards in the deck, Fairy Tale Snow. When it's normal, we get to flip a card face down. If it's in grave, we can banish 7 others on a quickie to special it from our hand, from the grave to the board. It is a body, it is interruption, it is extension via banishing cards, such as our Thunder Dragons. What's not to love? I've already went over Shieren, but Shieren is very good because it lets us pitch our Thunder Dragons and milk cards and puts a 4 body that is also a dark. Incredible all-around card. Wouldn't even dream of cutting this card, and the fact that it's searchable off of Perliano means that opening Perliano at the very start of the game and just playing it means you're more than likely to fetch a negate out of your opponent, and it's like, okay, you just negated my Shieren ad, okay. And it just lets us play through so much. We have our triple Thunder Dragon in order to trigger the summoning requirement for Colossus. A lot of the time we actually are just going to be tribute summoning it, depending on certain hands, because that's all we really need to be doing. We just need Colossus on board. We have our triple Thunder Dragon Dark. It's technically a hand trap. You can discard it to add another copy of itself from deck to hand. Good turn 1 play if your opponent's going first, because it lets you just take one card out of your deck, a potential draw, and put a Thunder Dragon Dark in grave for your first turn. We're playing 2 Malicious. It's a good pitch, it's a good send, it's a good mill, and it's an extra level 6 body, which is very important because it does let us access Chaos Angel very easily. It is an extra body for link summoning, so on and so forth. It has a very niche interaction with a card that I'm going to mention a little bit later, but it is a very funny and very good for getting advantage. Thunder Dragon Hawk. It is our main road to Thunder Dragon Colossus, our main road to extension to link plays, just because it brings back a banished or Thunder Dragon or one that's in grave. So one that we've milled, one that we've used, one that we've discarded, anything. Speaking of mill and discard and graveyard related stuff, our Thunder Dragon Roar. You can discard it to add a Thunder Dragon card that is banished or in your grave to your hand. This does not only add Thunder Dragon Hawk, Thunder Dragon Roar, Thunder Dragon, and Matrix. It adds our Thunder Dragon Fusion, but the thing you're most likely going to be doing if you're activating that in-hand effect is putting your Colossus or Titan right back into the extra deck where you can access it once more, since you can't really special them from grave. When it's banished or sent from field to grave, it special summons the Thunder Dragon, so this is the most important one in the entire deck because it lets you gain extra materials on your opponent's turn in order to play with them. We have our Magnamut, our Saronir, and our Druis Worm. Our Saronir is here to dump extra darks or lights in the grave via Lubellion or any of the other Bestials. We can also dump Lubellion in order to get access to them, because if we go Baldrake on our opponent's turn to, let's say, for example, send to banish a Thunder Dragon Roar to special the Baldrake, and then Roar will special summon a Dark. The moment our opponent special summons a monster from the extra, we can tribute that Dark to banish it, and then get that Dark activation in order to get a Hawk to hand for our next turn, or a Fusion, or Matrix, or whatever you need in that instance. So Baldrake is the real MVP Bestial of this deck, along with Magnamut, of course. We've already went over the dangers, and we have our Bestial Lubellion. Most of the time we are going to be setting our Branded Regained instead of our Branded Beast. However, if we have milled our Regained, we can get the best of both worlds and just put the Beast to hand. We always can send our Branded Regained to the grave via Bestial Saronir if we have opened the Beast. So we can access that there. We're playing Triple Allure of Darkness. It is a way to banish our Thunder Dragons from hand, draw some cards, and get a lot of advantage very quickly. We can also activate it if we don't even have any darks, because if we do miss, what's the worst we're going to be sending to grave if we don't have darks? Snow, Mizuki, Ash, okay. Matrix, sure. Hawk, alright. Like all these cards, like we're completely content with them being sent to the graveyard in order to get even more advantage off of them. We're playing that one grass looks greener because we are playing 60 cards. This grass and that grass is very powerful because it lets you basically just, it says mill 20 cards or mill 15 cards or whatever. Incredible card in the deck. Our Thunder Dragon Fusion does not just fusion summon our Colossus and our Titan if needed. It also does search if we have milled it or activated it on a previous turn. We have our 3 Chaos Space, one of the best cards in the deck because you can send a Thunder Dragon Dark or a Roar or a Malicious to the grave in order to add our Bestial Lubellion. We could also send our Shierens, although you won't get the activated effect in grave, but we're perfectly fine with that if we're sending the Shieren. We're running the Perliano, as I mentioned. Very funny that all fusions that you control gain 500 attack because what's Colossus and Titan? They're fusions. We're playing Double Called By in order to avoid getting hand trapped to death, as well as our Branded Regained that I mentioned previously. Funny little thing that you can do with this is if you banish a Malicious with Branded Regained on the field, you can immediately put that banished Malicious right back on bottom, special summon that other Malicious, link it off, and then get a third Malicious. So it's like we're playing heroes, but we're not. Then we are playing our Double Droplet. It is good going first, good going second, because we can interact with our opponents in a meaningful way, because we do often end on extra bodies just sitting on board, or we can bring out extra bodies during our opponent's turns via Bestials, or our Thunder Dragon Roar in grave via Bestials. And lastly, our Branded Beast, if we have milled our Branded Regained. regained, we can bring it back from the grave to our board with Branded Beast, and it is interaction, which does kind of hard carry us in our branded matchup, because we can remove their Albez, we can remove their Cartesia after it's activated its effect, etc., in order to just deny our opponent's advantage or force them to just have the right cards in hand. That's going to be it for the main deck. Main deck is very tight because it is actually the maximum amount. Then we're going to go on to the extra. We're playing one Garua. We can make this using any of the Tearlaments that we mill. Maybe if we send one off Shieren, plus our Nessie, which is also an Aqua and Dark. So we can actually access Garua that way. Garua is good for OTKing if our opponents have an empty board. It's good for advantage if we're going first, because it does let us draw a card off of us just coincidentally milling Shieren or something. We're running our Colossus. This does hard carries in the matchup because they don't really have too much non-destruction spot removal. So our Colossus does resist them. They add 1,000,000 cards from deck to hand, so we're just going to say no to that because it's a one-sided walking mistake that can protect itself from battle or targeted destruction. Or not even targeted destruction, any destruction. And it does actually extend us if they do try and do that, if we have a Roar or a Dark Engrave. We have our Thunder Dragon Titan. It is very good for cleaning up messy board states because we can just force our opponents to either interact with the Titan or lose their board. It does not have the same protection as Colossus. It does not protect by battle, but it is higher statted overall, so not really an issue. We're playing our Chaos Ruler. It is an extender. It is searching for cards. It's an extender in Graveyard. It can banish our Thunder Dragons. This card does everything for the deck, and I couldn't imagine playing this deck without it, really. At least not including the Solitaire and Unizombie package. You could probably cut it down to 40 if you're not playing this card. Our Chaos Angel, on summon, it will banish a card on board. We're not really doing that most of the time because if we are going first, we're just going to set this up to make so our monsters aren't being destroyed by battle. And if we do make a light, it's going to be very hard for them to interact with this card. One Minerva, this is the most cuttable card in the extra deck, considering cutting Dingirsu in place of this Minerva, just because we are running a lot of 8s via Thunderbird, Lubellion, Chaos Rulers an 8, and we're always putting this on board if possible. Colossus is an 8 if needed. You know, we have a lot of access through that. And it does mill cards. It's an extra light in the extra, and it does actually have a destruction effect that doesn't go off too frequently, but can really turn the tide of the game if your opponent doesn't read it, because it does mill an additional 3 cards if destroyed by a card effect. Our Zeus, which is just here just in case, if we need to just have 2 4s after eating all interaction from our opponent's board, just to make the Zeus to clean up. Our Nightmare Phoenix for back row attacks, our IP Masquerena. Our Cross Sheep is very good in this deck because it's both a finisher and an extender, can bring cards back from the grave. And we were running a good Synchro package, so we can also make all monsters gain 700 attack, which is not a small amount. It can close out games using baby dragons and just like snows and stuff. Like if you have a snow, a Shieren, and like a baby dragon, plus the Cross Sheep, because it does buff itself, I believe that is very close, if not lethal. We have our Dark. It's a good link to just to make when we're going second against a Dark deck. It's here just mostly for flexibility. This can be cut in some instances, but I wouldn't recommend it just because a lot of decks are playing Darks in general. Maybe not Mathmech or other decks like that, but most decks do play a Dark of some sort in there. We have our one Unicorn for getting rid of cards we don't want to read. We're not really co-linking this, so we're never really drawing a card, but it does get bricks out of our hand as well, or cards that we want in grave. We have our one Apollosa, which combos very well with Chaos Angel if we do the can't be destroyed by battle effect, because we can make it with 2 materials and don't have to worry about it being checked by moving to combat. We have our Access Code Talker to clean up the entire board state and just kind of win us the game on the spot, or just really say, you have to answer this or you're dead on the next turn sort of play. And lastly, we have our Underworld Goddess of the Closed World to again get rid of cards we don't want to read, negates full boards, resists non-targeting removal or interaction, such as Crusader Mekk-Knight Avermax, which a lot of people do play now, especially with Mathmech. That's a card that's floating around quite a bit, and this card checks it very well, because it does both remove it and prevent its floating effect. And it has a bonus negate attached onto it. But thank you guys so much for watching. This is my deck profile. If you want to see like some games, look at my previous video, which is a little bit more of a meme video, but I might upload actual like walkthroughs of games in the near future. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.